What's going on? My name is Joe, and I practice talking on the internet. And we're talking anime today. I know. I'm so sorry. All right. So, this is a pretty simple idea, and hopefully, people who watch the shows understand it. And I'll try to catch some of the people who don't. And if you're wondering, hey, Joe, where's the logo? I'm wearing a green shirt. So we're going to have to take some L's today. So no logo today. I want to talk a little bit about Dragon Ball Z and what Dragon Ball Z can teach us about leftism and leftist politics. So basically what we have in America right now is the incoming inevitability of some full-blown fascism. And that is terrifying a lot of people and helping a lot of people in the stock market, apparently. So with that being said, we gotta first just recognize that fascism's on the way. It is an unavoidable thing. But also, just so we're clear about something, fascism has always been here. It's just that in this version that's coming to us hot and ready in 2025 is going to be some full-throated, out in the open fascism. Let's just get that in our heads, absorb it, and now we're going to put it to the side. And let's talk a little bit about leftist politics and leftist organizing. We got to just recognize from the rip that the leftist politician is just not a powerful entity in the United States. It's just very, very weak. And you can't expect something that's very, very weak to go after things in an oppositional manner that's substantive. So the leftist candidate is not going to beat the Kamala Harris's, the Donald Trump's, your district attorneys, without a incredible reimagination of strategy and power reorganization. This video is not designed to be the solutions video. This video is designed to identify what the problem is. And the problem is that we have a situation where in the face of Goku and Vegeta, I told you this was going to be about anime, we can't beat neither of those things. So in Dragon Ball Z, the metric of a strong villain is basically your ability not only to be competitive against Goku, but also competitive against Vegeta. And basically, if you don't know anything about Dragon Ball Z, those are the two general protagonists. There's ones underneath that, but every single villain has some variation of this same arc. They come out and appear to the lower tier villains and they just mollywop them. Sometimes there's some like notable moments of resistance from certain characters, but by and large, they just get their asses beat. Then usually what comes and presents itself is Goku. Goku will present himself and sandbag for a couple episodes, and then Vegeta will come in, and then he will, because he doesn't know how to sandbag, actually fight this person. And usually every single villain gets their ass beat by Vegeta for a little bit, and then Vegeta gets his ass beat. And when Vegeta gets his ass beat, then everyone's like, whoa, he beat Vegeta. Wow. And then Goku comes in the ring, blah, 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 and mollywops him. And that tends to be the formula in Dragon Ball Z, where basically the point I'm trying to make here is that the threshold of a top tier villain or top tier opposition is based on your ability to handle not only Vegeta, but also Goku. So if we look at this from like a political perspective, you could think of Kamala Harris as Vegeta, presenting pretty decent favorability up front, maybe even presented in a way that they might win, and then just gets their ass beat. And then gets their ass beat in a way that's profoundly unavoidable. And then usually what happens is the next point of opposition of that is going to be Goku. In this case, we're going to call Donald Trump Goku. I know it's going to make a lot of Trump people who watch my videos excited, but this is just metaphorically, not literally. So basically, if I am a leftist politician, if I can't beat Kamala Harris, there's no way that I'm going to beat Goku or Donald Trump. If leftists can't overtly challenge neoliberalism, then there's no way that they're going to challenge fascism. Depending on what ideological spin you're in, it's some level of argumentation of fascism is neoliberalism in decay, fascism is capitalism in decay. It's in some variation of a decay of the current status quo of institutions around you. And I generally tend to think that that's true. I think when these institutions start beginning to fail, these predominant ideologies begin to fail, not only people, but the very institutions themselves, then fascism presents itself as the solution to said problems, when in reality, it's just the full realization of the decay of these things. With that being said, you cannot reasonably challenge neoliberalism and lose and then think that, oh, I can beat fascism instead. I think gets people in a lot of trouble. So the leftist candidate has to be primed and prepared to not only be able to challenge and beat neoliberalism, but also challenge and beat fascism. And right now, if we're going to use the anime analogy, leftism in America can't even beat Vegeta. It can't beat Goku. It can't even beat like Krillin. It's sad. So the challenge and the strategy is going to be kind of predicated on what you're able to defeat. Because as we've seen in insert favorite anime here, a lot of secondary villains sometimes don't even have to engage with the main characters to cause some serious damage. So leftism needs to identify the weaker protagonists and beat them first, and spend a dedicated time and effort beating those secondary protagonists. And then through the whops and lumps of challenging those protagonists, or I shouldn't call them protagonists, like secondary opposition, then you can start navigating against the primary opposition. Because right now, the primary opposition in America is neoliberalism and fascism. Those, I think, are the big two when you're trying to go after things. But Joe, what about neoconservatism? Isn't that bad? Of course it's bad. I don't consider neoconservatism at the complete level of equality as neoliberalism, but it's definitely one of the big three, if you can make that argument. So maybe when I make a thumbnail, I'll have like 3 manifestations of those things. Or I'll be toxic and just like find something that has nothing to do with the video. I haven't figured that out yet. Anyway, in short, to kind of wrap this up, because the premise is like the actual content of it is not that complicated. Leftism right now is not a powerful entity of opposition. So anytime it challenges neoliberalism in America, it's going to predominantly lose. And it seems like the primary power of these leftist entities that are navigating in electoralism and the adjacent activities around that are just very, very either disorganized or just obsessed with power to the point that they're totally okay with losing. I'm not quite sure which one of these things are yet. But in short, it has to start being in the business of winning, but also being in the business of winning without falling victim to entering into neoliberalism. So like if you are leftist long enough and you start becoming obsessed with power, then you're just going to go on to like dsa.com/join today. Like that's just kind of the logical conclusion to that. So you want to have and start building some type of leftism that's competitive and oppositional to neoliberalism, and then, but you had to start going down the lower ends of that and getting your lumps in the lower ends first. And then once you get sort of very unignorably powerful, then you might be able to go after Vegeta. In this case, Vegeta is neoliberalism. And then once you like are able to show that you're not only competitive against neoliberalism, but you can beat neoliberalism, then that's when the entities that are adjacent to fascism, that's a wholly different challenge, but at least you can show that, hey, if I can beat Vegeta, then there's a chance that I can actually be competitive against Goku. And that's pretty much it, right? So we got to reorient ourselves that yes, neoliberalism is dangerous, but fascism is worse. Fascism will always be worse. There's no world where neoliberalism is worse than fascism. And if you think that that's the case, you are smoking crack. Maybe not crack, some type of drug that's not on the market yet. So we got to keep our eye on the ball, right? You know, being oppositional to neoliberalism is very, very fun. Very, very fun. I'm not going to lie to you. It is a fun activity because these people suck. But fascism is way worse. And because of leftism's failures in electoralism and leftist candidates' failures of opposition to neoliberalism, you're just going to get fascism. And we got it, right? So while I think people are misinterpreting the joy of seeing neoliberalism lose, right? Like people are very, very happy that Kamala Harris lost. I am, but that does not necessarily mean that I am enjoying or excited about fascism. But there's different strategies engaging with both of those things. That's all I have for today, right? So let's, as if you are leftist and watch my content, we got to start working on these lower end villains, all right? We got to start beating up them TNs, those Krillins and Piccolos, those Trunkses, etc. And then once we get our lumps in and prove to be competitive against then the next step is going up against the Vegetas, because Vegeta's basically the bar. And then once we get through Vegeta, then we can start figuring out what to do against Goku. All right, sounds good. With that being said, I'm going to figure out what to do, not wear a green shirt when I want to record, and I'll see y'all soon.